welcome to my 2 a.m. morning thoughts. Today I want to talk about self-condemnation and guilt. Back in 2016, I started my own business as a young black female entrepreneur. So I used to render services to people who had weddings, events, business profiles, and I would do their photography, videography. I would say that was the best time of my life, and only in 2020 I discovered how I carried the shame, the condemnation, self-condemnation, and self-doubt that phase taught me. So what had happened was that before I started my business, I think I was raised in an environment that was good enough for me. It was good enough to teach me business skills, how to be an entrepreneur, all the professional things that you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur. And I've listened to too many motivational talks about how people fail in business, how they go through challenges, and how they struggle, and I told myself that I'm gonna mentally prepare myself for that phase, and when it comes, then I'm ready. I will be matured to handle it, and I'll be strong because I already know what's on the other side of the coin. Look, everyone who's ever gone through a business tough time, they came back with a bang, right? And I thought that's how things are gonna be. Everything is just gonna flow. Everything is just gonna be lit. I'm ready, man. I was ready, hey? So then I started my business, and in the first 3 months, I had no challenges. It was booming. Everything about it was great. I had good clientele. I've never struggled with any of my clients. Everything was just so smooth, You hear that business fails because clients were not paying, or they didn't have enough customers to run the business. I never had any of that. I had good clients. People were willing to pay. I would never have to negotiate my price. I would never have to bring my price down. And I would like to thank everyone who actually believed in me during that phase. It was the best thing ever. And without you guys, I wouldn't have made it. I got business mentors, people who would teach me, and every time I had a small business fail, they'll be there to pick me up. Like, they'd always tell me, this is how you should conduct yourself, this is what you're supposed to do. It's like I had an entire army behind me that believed in me and was holding me up, that I'm gonna make it in this whole business life. Then 6 months down the line, I think I had decided to expand my business from just being a one-on-one freelance videographer and photographer into a whole branding idea. Branded my business. I started making it professional. I hired a couple of people who would work part-time. When I had gigs, I would have a lot of gigs in one weekend, so then I would have to create different teams. And I could agree that certain teams failed me, but my clients were so understanding that I'm a young female, and they're willing to give me another shot. They would tell me that we understand that you're trying to expand, but correct here and there, That's a rare thing to get. Usually clients just walk away from you when they see that you're no longer good enough. And I could already see the business cycle going down. Not because I was financially constrained in the business or anything like that. Somehow I just went into this deep, dark hole after 1 or 2 business reviews because I didn't do something perfect according to the client standard. And you know what? I think one thing I learned about being an entrepreneur is that it's something else when a person tells you that you didn't do the job good enough. But then when you're young and you're starting, it's very destructive to come across someone who demolishes you. And I know we're supposed to expect that not everyone is going to be nice, but then the type of demolishing that when you leave a person, as much as you look up to them, you see that there is no way you can come back from this one. And I think I went through that. It started with just one person who wasn't happy with my work, and I started feeling like my business wasn't good enough. I was scared to service any future clients after that. And any clients that I had serviced before, I was nervous to give them their work or their portfolios or anything of that kind, because now I was embarrassed that what if I give clients their work and then I get the same feedback, despite that people who were my clients have seen my work already and they were happy. That's why they would book me through. So then I took time to submit to clients any their work. And it happened that during that phase, it's like if one bad thing happens to you, then they all just come on you. I had my equipment stolen, which means I lost clients' footage and data and like everything. So as much as I couldn't give clients their work, now I had to deal with having to tell clients that I cannot give them their work and trying to put back the business in order. But already my spirit was crushed. I felt like I took a step and 3 more steps back. And rendering videography and photography services is it's like the pits, eh? Those are people's moments. Once you lose it, you can't have it back. You cannot replace it. No insurance can replace it. There's nothing you can do. Literally, it's gone. Like, it's gone. Gone. Zilch, nothing. It's a lost moment. You were the eye of that function. And you lost it. I couldn't face my clients. So then I held back. I would not go to my clients. I never told them what happened. But I just decided to go low on business and keep quiet. And then with social media, having social media, some of my clients, I think like 2 of them came through to my social media pages, and they were like, yeah, she's a fraud, she did this, she did that, which is, I deserve that. I probably did that, not getting back at them, not telling them the situation. I think by the time I told them the situation, they were kind enough to say to me, okay, we are hurt, but can you at least refund us? Just that after that whole situation, things really went bad. So then they kept on giving me time, but then already things were out there on social media that she's a fraud, she's this. How you always read about bad businesses on internet? I was one of them. Not funny. No, not funny. So I went through depression, because now I felt like I disappointed everyone who believed in me, everyone who had hope that I was going to make it, everyone who supported me. I just went through this major depression, and I decided to take down my business. But the way my business started booming, Google started like recognizing it from the location it was at. I managed to register for all those things. And if you would go on the internet, and well, even if I still go on the internet now and type my business, it's still one of the recommended business in my hood. It's up there, and I would feel so much shame and guilt every time I'd go on Google and I Google myself and then I find my business up there. with all those 2 or 3 bad remarks being the first 2 headers, you know, fraud, hello Peter, which is still there now. But then because of having that, I knew this is my mark and I can't wash it away. I'm done, I'm out, I will never be able to do business again, and I am not good enough, because once you do something bad, it becomes a mark of a lifetime. And I think that's where self-condemnation started. I could not do any other business after that. Even when people would ask me what I do, I would tell them that I'm a videographer and a photographer, but I was more leaned on getting a job than giving it another shot, even though people would always tell me that you should give it a try, because it's like I just had this new fresh start where after my depression phase, I was like, I'm gonna be more humbled, I'm gonna be low, I'm gonna be underground. People don't need to know me, people don't need to know what I do for a living, because it will always bring up the past. So I decided to do that, and I felt so guilty and so condemned. Even though I would have business ideas, I would never recommend them or take them to heart. But then I was so eager in the world of business, I would start giving them all these business ideas because I wanted to do them, but I was in this self-condemnation that I'm not good enough, I failed, I cannot open that page again. So I would never do that. I would rather suggest to people. And you know, every time when you try to tell someone a business idea and you're like, I know it's gonna work, because I know it's gonna work. I know when I know, you know when you know. If business is your calling, you know it's gonna work. Whether a person comes up with an idea without a plan, without a strategy, you know it's gonna work, because you already have the whole thing planned out. Even though it's gonna take time to build, but you have so much confidence in it. I am one person who has more confidence in people starting their own businesses than employment. I feel like starting a business is one of the most simplest things in the world compared to getting a job. And if I didn't have self-condemnation, I would probably by now having more than 6 or 7 businesses, because I would just do them and put them out there. But then the thing is, now I had this thing that I'm a failure. The mark is there that my business was bad at some point. I took down my business. I deregistered. I just went like nothing ever existed. I knew that I made my mistakes in business and I failed, but then I decided that I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm not going to feel guilty anymore. I am not going to go on Google and every time I Google my business name, I shrink because of embarrassment, because of condemnation, because of guilt. Yes, I went through that. It was part of my failures. And there's still an opportunity to not see it as a failure, but as a lesson. I was seeing, you know, before the lockdown, companies were going through a lot, and employees went on Twitter and they started tweeting how the companies are not paying them, how the companies are not doing this. And as much as that was happening, if you can look at all those companies that went through all those tabloids, you know, they're still standing. And there are certain things you cannot take back. There are certain mistakes you cannot reverse in business. And it's something that I made peace with for the past couple of days, and I noticed. And I think that's another thing that made me so guilty, that I wasn't handling it. I'm still not handling it. I am not dealing with it. I am just not in it, you know. And that's the reason why I'm scared of you. I was even scared of starting another business, because I was like, what if it just comes up? You know, what if people were like, we can't trust you because you never delivered before. How can we trust you again? And there's no way you can redeem yourself from that when you're doing videography and photography, like I'm saying. If you lose someone's footage, that's it. There's no way of getting it back. So if you book a videographer and a photographer and you ask them, what if you lose my footage? What's going to happen? I think that's why people never ask that question, and we never go there, because we know there is nothing that can be done, you know, especially when you're a small starting business. You know, big companies, yeah, probably there's something that can be done with backups and files and all those things. But if it's gone, it's gone. And that's why I felt like I cannot redeem myself from that. Because if I cannot reverse this issue, nothing can be reversed in my whole life. What I discovered about self-condemnation and out of these things is that sometimes we think the only time we feel like we can rise back from an issue, it's when someone did us wrong and the fault is not ours. That way we are able to go out there and be like, oh, I don't need to feel guilty because they did this, then I did that, then they did this. But then it's hard to come out of self-condemnation if you did it. You know you are the one accountable for the problem. You have no one to blame but yourself. And I realized that you condemn yourself more when you are in that situation. So from now on, I'm no longer going to see my failures as a step back, but then I'm going to start seeing them as lessons that I learned. So from now on, having this vlog, I am going to reignite that business passion in me. I am going to awaken my business. I am going to be accountable for every wrongdoing that my business did, and I am gonna take charge of it so that I close that chapter and I move on and start on a new clean page. But I know it doesn't mean the past is erased, but then at this point I am willing to look beyond that, because I've seen that many businesses that went through a lot, when they looked beyond that situation, they became a success.